If only I could finish something, run straight through to the end.
I think as painters, there is this underrated skill that we sometimes have to use, and it's very difficult for our sensitive hearts to accept and implement. So what happens is you spend a lot of time on a project and you're kind of like halfway, maybe even close to finishing, and you realize this project absolutely sucks. I hate it. I don't like it. No one's gonna want to watch or look at this thing. But I don't want to stop because I'm almost done and I feel like I should just put it out in the world. I've already spent so much time on it. That happened to me recently. I spent way too many hours making this video and editing it. It was about like the 6 steps of a painting, which is a great idea. I was really excited about it. The problem was the painting that I was doing in the video to showcase the 6 steps of a painting. The painting was terrible. It just like, the video wasn't cropped right, the lighting, all of it. It's just like not interesting to look at. But I kept persevering because again, I spent all this time, so I'm not just gonna give up. But I think the longer that we are artists and creators, we start to understand like what's good and what's not good as far as like our standards and our normal practices go. And I know if I'm getting bored editing a video or if I'm painting a painting and I'm like hating it every second, I can tap into myself and say, okay, let's be real here. This isn't very good. And sometimes you do have to persist. I'm a big advocate for finishing projects, but I can usually tell when it's like, I just need to persevere and it's going to be, usable by the end versus like actually a terrible project. This video that I was working on just wasn't good. It wasn't good. And sometimes you have to just make a decision even when you're not 100% sure. And you just have to say, I'm going to cut this off. It's possible that it would get better, but I'm going to go ahead and make that decision and trust myself and be intuitive. I think this skill of knowing when to scrap a project and just say, goodbye, I've had a good run, but this isn't working. That's a really important skill, just as much as it is to push through or, start a project or finish a project. I've always loved this concept of the sunk cost fallacy. So if you don't know what the sunk cost fallacy is, it's essentially like, actually, I have a definition here. I should probably read that so I don't get it wrong. So it's the tendency to want to continue investing time, effort, or resources into something that you've put so many hours into already, regardless of whether it's still worth pursuing. So it's really about the amount of time and effort that you've put into it. And you say, well, that alone, just because I put time and effort into it, that alone justifies its worth. This can be a really big problem because some things are not worth holding on to just because we put time and effort into them. I've used this fallacy a lot in my life to, wake myself up when I'm really holding on to things because I just don't want to let them go. And this could be like, say you move to a new city. You've spent thousands of dollars to move to this new city. You've switched jobs, said goodbye to friendships, moved your whole life across the country. And you've lived in this new city for a few months, a few years, but you realize it's just not the place for you. And you say, well, I put so much money into moving here, I have to stay for a while. But really, somewhere else really awesome is calling your name. Again, you have to really differentiate between, am I just, wanting to give up and not see this through? Or is this really not right for me? And I'm just holding on to that sunk cost that I've put into this and I need to just let it go. People talk about this fallacy a lot with like college degrees. Like say you are almost finished with a certain degree, an English degree, but halfway through senior year, you're like, I am really into volleyball. I want to be a professional volleyball player. Now, it kind of makes sense to finish the English degree if you're almost done, but if you know that volleyball is your life's passion and you are sure about that, then would it make sense to finish out the year of English? Or would it make sense to go ahead and get started on your volleyball degree? I mean, it's kind of a bad example because like you're almost done. Maybe let's say like, sophomore year or something. You get the picture. It's like you've put so much time and effort into something, but you know that something else is your dream. A lot of times it is so much better financially and time-wise, energy-wise, to go towards your dream if you know that that is the thing. We'll end up just like finishing things and wasting a lot of time, money, effort, and not really being happy with it. And then it actually pushes our dream further and makes that a lot more difficult to start because we're already at a deficit with resources, right? So when it comes to painting, I think like the first thought should probably be like, am I giving up too easily? If you're struggling on a project, like, I don't think the first thought should be like, well, the sunk cost fallacy, I'm going to give it up. I don't think that should be, your go-to. But I think that the more you ask yourself this, the more you will get better at knowing the difference and trusting yourself. And the more you do finish projects, the more you'll be able to tell like if you should push through or not. So I trusted myself on this recent project. I knew like I could scrap it. I'm not going to feel bad. The hours that I spent, it's okay. I'll let them go. I'll say goodbye. I'm not going to like hold onto that grudge. One thing you can ask yourself if you're unsure is like, would I start this painting today if I hadn't already invested time into it? So if you're looking at this ugly painting that you're hating and you're like, I really want to stop, but I'm not sure. Ask yourself like, would I start this painting now? I know a few days ago I was really excited about it. Today I'm not. So would I start it if I knew what it looked like or what it was going to involve? And sometimes you'll be like, yeah, this is a great challenge. And then other times you're like, no, I should move on. And, hopefully like with painting, a lot of times you can sand over your nice canvas and like really hold on to those materials. You can scrape it and sand over and reuse that panel or whatever. So you're not wasting those expensive materials. You do waste some paint and things, obviously, but what can you do? You're also learning. Like you're learning so much from every project. So if you do scrap it, it's not that it was in vain. You're learning so much about like what you like, what you don't like, what subject matter, colors, approach to painting works for you. So I think that's important to remember too, that it's not wasted time. Oh, and relationships is a big one. Like spending 10 years in a relationship and you're 34 and you want to have a kid, but this relationship is not right. And you're like, well, I got to stay in it though, because I've put so much time into it and I want to have a kid or something. And I'm 34, or like I'm almost dead, right? But if that relationship is not right for you, you're actually punishing yourself by missing out on those opportunities to look for a better relationship. Forcing yourself to stay with something out of obligation or some unwritten rule is just hurting yourself more and not good for the long term. And with the relationship, you learned so much in those 10 years. That was not wasted time at all. I really don't think that most things that we do are a waste of time if we're learning from them. I think that we can always sort of gain some insights from every failure. So it's really not a failure. It's just a learning opportunity. Of course, you probably know the phrase, kill your darlings. Filmmakers use this phrase a lot because they will shoot many scenes that are incredible, but you can't always put them all in the final cut of the movie because it'll be too long. So you have to kill your darlings. You have to kill these amazing scenes that deserve time and attention in order to serve the greater good, the greater project. With painting, sometimes if you have like a still life and you have so many objects in the photo and you want to put them all in because they're all amazing, sometimes you got to kill your darlings and take out a few of those objects to serve the greater painting and to make it more simple and to make each object shine more instead of just like cluttering things up. Overcoming these attachments too will also sort of increase your confidence because you're able to know that there's going to be more in the future. You're not holding on to the past and like what you've already done and like being obsessed about making those work. You're actually looking to the future and saying, I know that more good is coming my way and I'm going to have that abundance mindset and know that like I can make another great painting. I don't need to hold on to this crappy one that I don't like. So that's kind of nice because I think it shifts the mindset from desperation to excitement and joy with painting. So if you're not sure, if you're stuck in this sunk cost fallacy and you are just not knowing if you should push through or give it up, a few things you can do is like take a break. Just set the painting aside, come back in like a week or two with fresh eyes and maybe move on for now. You can always come back to the painting if it speaks to you. You don't have to make a decision immediately. Just kind of let it chill, let it sit, and your eyes will see the painting differently in a couple weeks. That is a really cool thing about like art is when we get so close to the painting for so long working on it, we can't really see how it actually looks anymore. And then we can come back to it later and actually see what it looks like from a outsider's perspective. And if you're struggling with letting that painting go, think about all the things, even list them out, that you learned during this painting. I learned that I don't like to paint architecture, or I learned that these two colors don't really work together. I learned that I need to work on my drawing skills. And something that really, really helps me, especially with this recent project that I had to scrap, it was a video that I worked on for a long time, is don't get hung up on it. Start a new project right away that you're actually excited about. And tell yourself that you're still worthy of making things and you're going to show up. You're going to move on and show up. You're not going to keep dwelling. I think it's important to just move on and keep the cycle going. Keep yourself in the rhythm of creating and showing up for yourself so that it's just a routine thing. And, one little project is just a tiny little drop of sand in the beach, it's not going to matter because you're cranking out projects. That's actually really helping me right now because I need to also get over the grief of this scrapped project. Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with me today. I've been struggling with what to post as a long form video because I don't know, short form content is just so much more prevalent these days. It's what I watch a lot, but I also really like long form videos. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can show up. So if you follow me and you have any ideas of what you'd like to hear from me or why you're here, what do you like about my content? Let me know and check out my art prints below. And I hope you have a great day. Make sure to go and paint this week or today if you have time. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.
If only I could finish something, run straight through to the end.